All right, so here we go again. So once again, this is the continuing of the recollections of my previous D&D campaigns. This is the 5th campaign, and I'm going to be working my way all the way back to my very first campaign. These are the completed campaigns. They're not exactly all the campaigns I've done, but I wanted to contain only the ones I actually saw through to the end. So, that being said, we have this one. Anyways, again, these campaigns revolve around D&D 5th edition, which is owned by Wizards of the Coast, and then the source book I'm using is Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. So again, we're continuing the same recollections. So now there's a lot to this one, so I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. All right. Anyways, so where we last left off, the Marquise Tussoa Latou's her offices, her courthouse, her town hall, has come under attack. So now the party is essentially engaging against these 3 individuals. Now, at this point, it's currently only Vorkeef, Wick, and Dolamon that are at the Marquise's office. And essentially what they discover is, as soon as they're looking down the long hall past the bodies of various municipal workers and Zelestos that were in the offices during this attack, they see, what is it called? They see one of them is a mind flayer. If you don't know what a mind flayer is, they're kind of humanoid dudes with kind of squids for heads. Aside from that, this one in particular has a metallic arm, or perhaps a mechanical arm. But another is a sort of pale-skinned, bald individual with sharp, pointy ears. And he has a ravenous look to him with pale blue eyes. There's blood down his lower jaw and on his throat. Clearly, he's some sort of vampiric sort because all of his teeth are filed down and very, very sharp. Well, I wouldn't say filed down, they're just sharp. Anyways, that is the other one. And then the third one is a large hag. So whenever I say large hag, I'm not talking like a fat hag. I'm talking about like a big hag that is bigger than both the Mind Flayer and the vampire. And they're both dwarfed by her. She's very large. She's almost like a small giant of a hag. Anyways, that's the third one. And so essentially what happens is the party, the combat encounter ensues. And Vorkeef is almost knocked out immediately by the vampire. And Dolamon and Wick basically have to fend off the vampire and grab Vorkeef and try to drag him out of there. And once they get out, or they get Vorkeef out of there, Elton, the captain of the Zelestos, shows up, and he begins to essentially basically save them and start clearing the building. And by the end of it, upon returning, he explains to them that the Marquis has been murdered. So, with that, the party's like, oh, great. Well, she was the one that we were going to tell about what's happening, so I guess instead we'll tell you, Elton, which is what they did. So from there, they explain essentially to Elton, there's the ritual site hidden within the swamp, and basically from there, fast forward a bit, Elton splits up the Zelestos to both go and bring the rest of the party, relieve the rest of the party, and help with the captives, and then also to start investigating the Majest Timber Guild. The party doesn't necessarily stick around to see what happens with the Majest Timber Guild or follow up on that. And they're just like, you know what? It's a little bit beyond us. Let's just stay out of it. And so, with that, it's the next day, and the party is finally back in Tussoa, and they decide they sort of need, leaving all that sort of stuff to Elton and the Zelestos, who are very busy now that the Marquis is dead. The party decides they need some context to all the religious iconography that they discovered in the ritual site, and everything that transpired the day before with the 3 assailants. So they begin basically investigating. So they gather together in the Loto Plaza, which is surrounded by temples and guild halls and businesses, stuff like that. And there, they go to the Temple of the Wild Mother, which is one of the temples that's there. And they're like, all right, maybe the Wild Mother people know something about it, because, well, there was a tree, it's hidden in a secret cave, and it was out in a swamp, so they're like, kind of natural surroundings. And it turns out the Temple of the Wild Mother is maintained by a Minotaur priest by the name of Capheus. So, essentially, they go in there and they start asking Capheus, they start explaining to him what they found. And he's able to explain the strange iconography found in the swamp as belonging to the betrayer god known as Torog. The party already surmised that, but they don't know anything about Torog, and that is where Capheus comes in handy. He basically explains that Torog is some creature known as the Crawling King, and he is a god, a betrayer god. These are the bad gods. A betrayer god of enslavement and torture. And basically, as for the 3 individuals that were murdered, or the 3 individuals that murdered the Marquis, he doesn't really have an answer for that. But he can only assume that they are tied together. So with that, they essentially are still trying to get the other half of the equation. They're still trying to learn the other half of the equation. But Nox's kid approaches Capheus because he's really curious about these bees in his hat. And what Capheus explains to him, judging from the looks of them and what he senses from them, that they have a strong connection to Melora, which is the Wild Mother. He basically explains that they are manifestations of Melora, of her power, through Nox's kid. So Nox's kid starts to think, he's like, ooh, maybe I have some sort of connection to the Wild Mother. And he's like, well, could be. It's like, those bees are definitely strange, because why would bees be in his head? And why would he have the ability to use them? Of course, it is a part of his class feature as a swarm keeper, but, a little bit of flavor. So, essentially, from there, they journey back out into the plaza, where they find Zin, the vassal, again. He still hasn't left town. He's not very good at going out and adventuring and doing heroic things. Not like Wick here. But Zin, the vassal, who basically continues to give a little bit of guidance to Wick. And Wick starts asking him, he's like, hey, what is it that's in our bottles? What did we make a pact with and stuff like that? And Zin basically explains that what Urahaza here put in their bottles, they are pieces of him. So they're like his emotions or his qualities and stuff like that. And essentially, it's like a micro genie that is inside that bottle, that it revolves around a particular emotion or aspect of Urahaza here, or quality of his. So we don't know what Wick's piece of Urahaza here is yet, but we know it's something. And so Zen goes on to explain to him, he's like, mine happens to be the aspect or the quality of Urahaza here's cunning. So his genie is, or cunning, guile, so on and so forth, the cleverness, right? Anyways, he says, in due time, whatever quality that you received from Urahaza here will make itself known to you. You just have to keep going. But from there, Dolamon encounters members of what is known as the Claret Orders. This is an actual faction from the Sourcebook, and they're just kind of like, I don't want to say, kind of like witchers, but yeah, that's pretty much it. They're monster hunters, and so, but from like a really like holy sort of like background, or very devout sort of background. So anyways, these members of the Claret Orders, one of them recognizes Dolamon from his pit fighting days, and from them the party learns, essentially. They start asking him, say, hey, do you know about these 3 occult individuals that have been going around causing mayhem and just killed the Marquis? And they were like, well, we didn't know that, but we do know that there's a secret occult order operating in Wildemount called the Arms of Torog. And they are 3 members, which the party surmises are the 3 that they encountered. And essentially, these members of the Claret Order, they introduce themselves. One of them is Elias de Corvo, who is a human fella. And then they have also Liliana Cade, who is a half-elf, but she has a kind of like a feral sort of attitude about her. And she's very ferocious from the looks of her, very wolf-like in her eyes. So they can only surmise there's something a little bit more to her. She's just not an ordinary little half-elf. Anyways, essentially, they explain it's like, more than likely, the Arms of Torog, since the emblem, the medallion that Noxus Kid found has 3 arms, chances are these 3 individuals are the 3 Arms of Torog. I don't know if Torog has 3 arms, but he might. Anyways, with that, Liliana happens to recognize Xander from his features and his scent, and she explains that she thinks one of the members of their order may be related to him, and but she can't say for sure, so she doesn't want to give it away too much. But she says, "It's like, I think I know someone who's related to you, but I can't be certain, so I don't want to lie to you." Right? Is how she's saying it, but something about Xander is very familiar to her, and that's where Xander starts thinking, is like, maybe I do have a family member in the order. Anyways, from there, Vorkif, they're hanging out with these Claret Order guys a lot, and Vorkif asks, Elias, he's like, hey, listen, long time ago in my past, I encountered a creature that was very dangerous. This creature essentially killed Vorkif's old party. His old party, they were called the Coinless, just because they did a lot of stuff pro bono for free. But, anyways, it was a creature that he said that was continually, maniacally, like laughing, and it could control the undead. Now, from what he describes, it sounds like it was a very powerful creature. And Elias de Corvo explains, he's like, hey, well, it's like, this, you're probably really lucky to get away from this thing, okay, whatever it was. And from the sounds of it, it sounded kind of like a type of beholder. So from him, whenever he was explaining like how there was multiple rays coming out of this thing, and he said there's just a multitude of eyes. He's like, kind of sounds like a beholder, a type of beholder. I won't say which one yet, but anyways, essentially Vorkeef, he has survivor's guilt. He feels bad that he was the only one that survived. And Elias told him, he's like, listen, man, the only thing you can do is just live well. That's it. You made it. So, do the right thing by your old party. So, basically, from here, the party is now aware of a possible conspiracy taking place in Wildemount. And they decide to try and basically journey towards the capital of the Dwendalian Empire to tell Vorkeef's stepfather, that is married to his mother, of course, about this occult group that could be trying to bring Torog back from the darkest recesses of the Underdark. If Torog were to be unleashed onto the Empire, it'd be pretty bad, and they have a lot of friends and family here. Vorkeef, specifically his mother. He's not too keen on his stepdad, but his stepdad is highly connected in the Dwendalian Empire, which is why he's like, we should probably try to get there so I can, 1, see my mom, and 2, tell my stepfather what's going on, and maybe he knows something, or he can get the ball rolling for something to be done about it. So that's their plan. They don't want Torog coming back. So that's what they decide they're going to do next. They're going to make their way towards the capital of the Dwendalian Empire, which is in Rexentrum. It's a good distance away, and they're on foot. But they're just, the Dwendalian Empire is just on the other side of the Sirios Mountains, which is kind of like to the east. So they judge that the best way forward is through a tunnel to the kind of northeast that passes under the Sirios mountain range. So they basically cross back over the river and start making their way northeast of Tussoa, or kind of east. Doesn't matter. Either way, that's pretty much what they come to, and that is the end of that particular session. So they are now heading towards a trail that leads towards this mountain tunnel, and from there, that is where we will pick our story back up. All right, until then.